Hi, my name is Barry Zawacki. I'm a painter and a potter. I've been a practicing artist for well over 40 years, ever since high school, really, I guess, is when it really started. And my BFA is in art education from the University of Northern Colorado, and my MFA is in painting from the University of Denver. Most people nowadays know me as a potter, but I'm actually a painter first and a potter second. In relationship to the work that's going to be presented in the show, there are going to be two separate series. One series was created last spring. They're done with recycled styrofoam, and the basis behind doing those pieces was that I was seeing a lot of styrofoam being thrown out in the recycling center, and at the same time saw a special on PBS on how styrofoam is filling up our landfills because it's not biodegradable. So I wanted to take a material that people are used to looking at in one respect as far as packing material or coffee cups or food containers, and try to present it in a way that's completely different than the use that they're normally used to seeing it in, to change people's perspective on the use of the material and to use the natural qualities of the material to create visual interest in terms of texture. When styrofoam is heated, it melts, and depending on the density of the styrofoam, it creates various textures from the heat. And then in addition to that, I incorporated my painting background by working with acrylic paints to accent the textures, and this is more or less a carryover of my technique that I use in pottery, where I emphasize the natural texture of the clay. And the second series that I'm presenting in the show is a series that's very minimal. I've gone the opposite direction of the styrofoam and wanted to work with the basic concept that I've always kind of held as my basis for painting and pottery, which is less is more. And I've always been influenced by Asian aesthetics, which incorporates that philosophy, and also American Indian. And so in this series with the paintings, I've really broken it down to the most basic elements as far as line and color, and allowed the movement of the line to create the expression in the painting. As far as color and form are concerned, I've basically, since I started painting in undergraduate school, and then especially in graduate school, been a colorist. I've really always tried to work with the power of color in terms of the quantity of the color and in terms of the natural visual effects of the color on the viewer. Both the styrofoam pieces and the paintings on canvas emphasize the importance of color in terms of changing the visual effect of the material itself. And a lot of the elements that I've used in the second series really is based on nature. I was taken back by the natural flow of the lines that are created in sand dunes. Even though I really haven't experienced them firsthand, I've seen a lot of photography of the sand dunes in the West, and the quality of that line edge that's created by the wind with the sand, and the light hitting the sand, the top edge of the piece at one point, and changing it completely on the shadowed side is really what intrigued me. So what I've tried to do is taking color as opposed to just having neutral colors and incorporate that concept into the pieces. And as far as the styrofoam is concerned, really that has a lot to do with just the natural textures that you find in nature, which Jim Summers focuses on in his work in terms of working with very close-up details of elements of nature that most people don't really take the time to see.
I'm Jim Summers. I've been taking photographs for about 30 years now. I'd say 40, but I'm not that old. I haven't had any formal training in art or photography. I learned pretty much by myself, going out and doing it. Many years ago, I got my first SRT 101, rolled up some black and white film in it, and made a whole lot of mistakes, and that's how I've learned. When I was a teenager, I was very interested in art, and I used to hop on the 33 bus. I lived in West Caldwell. Hopped on the 33 bus, went into New York, and just hung out in museums and tried to figure out what modern art was all about. Didn't do too well. A little bit maybe. I learned just from staring at some of the artists that were in the museums about color and form, which is pretty much what this show is about. But that's been my major interest the whole time in taking photographs, besides family stuff, of course. But it's been about trying to, in the beginning, figure out what was going on. Why would somebody spend so much time and money making a canvas that doesn't look like anything? You know, it's abstract. What is that about? And I think one of the first painters that I made some sense out of was Mondrian. And my reaction to that was, after I looked at him long and hard, my reaction was, oh my God, he's playing. You know, you can do that. You know, modern art is, in many cases, just play. Things like learning how to deal with the edges of a photograph. I learned that from Mondrian, how a piece can have its own internal harmony and yet represent something outside of itself, project a pattern that seems to live not just within the work of art, but live without the boundaries as well. So the boundaries become an interesting part of the work of art. And in addition to that, I learned obviously about how to place color against empty space, how to use big empty spaces as a compositional element, and of course using rectangles. This picture right here that I referred to is a close-up of a stream, which is local here. It's up in the Tourne. It's just nothing special about the stream, but what I found in there is if you get close enough and use the reflections, you can begin to use them as compositional elements. So for example, the blue in this is a reflection of the sky. The gold is a reflection of, or actually it's a transmission through the water to the bottom of the stream. The green is the leaves overhead. So it looks as if these colors were invented, and I do use Photoshop because these are all taken digitally. What I do in Photoshop though is primarily I do noise reduction and I increase the contrast to get the colors a little bit richer. But this is pretty much what I saw when I went there. You can go there and see the same thing. As you can see, I like abstract patterns, and I'd started to discover abstract patterns in just sheets of ice by the side of the stream. And one of the things about ice is that it changes. So one day you'll go out and you'll see some patterns, and the next day you'll go back and they're all different. So now I'm a bit like a crazy man in the winter because I sit at home and I'm thinking, what's the ice doing now? You know, I should be out there taking those pictures. So, so that's, you know, that's how photography has pretty much infected my mind. It gives me little peace when I'm sitting at home because I'm always sitting at home wondering what's going on out there that I'm missing. In comparing what I do to what Barry does, I'm not a sculptor or a painter, but my understanding is that you start, for a sculptor anyway, you start with a block of something and chip things away and until you find the thing that you're looking for. Barry's work that'll be represented here is painting, and with that you start from pretty much nothing. You know, you start with an idea. You find a canvas, you know, maybe apply some structure to the canvas and apply some paint. So he is working with an additive process primarily. He might be taking things away as he's working on it, but it's starting with an idea and putting things together to come to the final, in his case, very abstract, very minimalist form. As a photographer, I work pretty much in the other direction. I go out and the world is pretty overwhelming visually. My job, as I see it anyway, is to find those same minimalist elements that talk to each other by eliminating a lot of what I see, and instead of adding things, getting closer, moving moving around, choosing different lenses, whatever I need to do to solve the problem, to get to where you can see just a few pieces that are talking to each other. So yeah, that's an interesting contrast between how we work. We both end up with simple, minimalist, abstract, color and form end products, but the way we get there is completely different.